working man, shipping orders, shaping hats. Let's do it.
Welcome to Over the Years. My name is Tim, and I love vintage items. I hunt for treasures and bring you the ultimate prizes of antiques, collectibles, and vintage decor. Join me, my dukes, my girlfriend Josie, and other guests as we search for history.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. It's your boy, Tim, from Over the Years. If this is your first time here, welcome. Enjoy yourselves. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I am a full-time reseller. I sell on 6 platforms. That's eBay, Etsy, Grailed, Mercari, Poshmark, and Depop. Today, we are going to be going over orders that sold. I don't know where I put that piece of paper. Orders that sold from July 6th to July 12th. And that was, I think that's 7 days. And we sold, I think, 80 pieces in 7 days. So it's been a pretty awesome little stretch. Now we're just trying to keep that momentum going. We got to do a lot of listings. So earlier today, it is now 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Earlier today, I was packing orders and I was on OBX Picker's channel, Eric over at OBX Picker. He's doing a 8-hour listing challenge live. So as soon as I finish this video, I'm gonna go over there and get some work done with him and Cernock. If you guys haven't subscribed to OBX Picker's channel, make sure you do so. I will put a link in the description for you. So let's go ahead and jump right into some sales. As always, we make these videos to help you guys hopefully see the things that we're selling, and if it's something that you're not already selling, now you have some more information and arsenal in your belt to help you get more profits in the game of reselling. We also hope it encourages you to cross-list, cross-post, however you like to say it, but to list on multiple platforms, as it does give you more of an opportunity to make more sales, as you will notice during these What Sold videos. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Mercari has been doing really well for us lately. The first thing that sold on Mercari during this time span is going to be this vintage mother of pearl case satin glass large rose bowl. If you guys haven't seen, we picked this up at the latest auction haul. If you haven't seen that video, I'll make sure to put a link either above me or in the description. But yeah, so this one sold for $36 and it sold pretty quick. Excuse me. I want to say within like the first day. Next up was this Nintendo GameCube off-brand controller. It wasn't a official, genuine Nintendo controller. It was like an aftermarket controller. I picked it up at a yard sale for $1 and it sold same day as listing for $15. Next up is another hat. You guys know we love selling our hats. This was a Spivey, I think that's how you say it, oil field service company hat out of Kansas. And I took an offer on that one. It sold for $17. Next up is another hat. This is a vintage 90s Kyle Petty Kendall racing hat. There's actually a ton of these hats listed right now. So I was kind of surprised that mine actually sold so fast. Probably because it was so cheap. But I'm always pretty much anywhere from 80 cents to $1.87. Let's just say $2. So let's say $1 to $2 generally on my hats. Sometimes I will go into the $3 to $5 range depending upon if it's a bundle or if it's a single hat that I bought. Sometimes I buy old hats to clean up. So sometimes I pay a little bit more. But this one I was definitely only in for about 80 cents. Excuse me, and it sold for $15. This is another hat I just recently picked up. I was about $2 into this hat. This was a vintage 90s Michelob beer trucker hat. Really dope hat, made in the USA, beer, trucker, snapback, all the things that you could want, crossover appeal. If this is your first time watching this channel, one of our biggest terms that we like to use when we are giving information or filming videos is crossover appeal. Crossover appeal is when you have an item that can appeal to multiple different people who are either collectors, resellers in different genres, and it helps as far as it generates more interest in an item. So that Michelob beer trucker hat sold for $20. Next up was this is definitely a bolo. So if you guys don't know and you're watching this video before Wednesday the 15th, I will be on with Courtney, the Bolo Buddies YouTube channel. I'll make sure to put a link in the description for that episode. She's got an amazing channel, and she does these live shows every Wednesday where people go over and they drop their bolos. So I will be on that this Wednesday, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is a vintage custard glass marmalade jar. It's made by James Keeler, I think that's how you say it, and Sons. Dundee Orange Marmalade. This is the second or third one of these I've sold. I picked this up with Josie at a yard sale in Pennsylvania recently. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link up top for you guys. And I got it for maybe $1, $1.50. And it sold instantly pretty much for $35. Next up was another Pyrex bowl that I picked up recently. Vintage Pyrex Spring Blossom, also known as Crazy Daisies. 472 was the number of the casserole dish. And it sold for $20. Next up, these Wii remotes. I just went and picked up a bunch of stuff from my old baseball coach, football coach. Shout out Coach Wyatt. And while I was up there, I stopped by Goodwill and I found a bunch of these Wii remotes for $2.99 a piece. So I lotted them up in pairs, and this was the first pair that sold. It sold same day, $32. And then we sold another pair, same day, and $32. And this is a Sony PlayStation 2 clear blue dual shock remote. I picked this up at the same Goodwill, and that sold same day, $20. Next up, actually that is everything that sold on Mercari during that stretch. So a nice little stretch on Mercari. Mercari sales have definitely been picking up. I'm really happy with that. The listing process has become super easy. I did a bunch of shopping on Mercari before I switched up the way that I list, and that definitely improved my listings, which has improved my sales. So now we are going to jump into Grailed. All right, Grailed. So this hat had crazy interest on all platforms. I got all types of lowball offers from every platform. Finally, it sold for $35. This includes shipping. This is made in the USA, trucker hat, vintage snapback patch hat, woods, safety never sorry, green. It was a dope hat, all in all. As you can see, it had 26 likes on Grailed. And it sold for $35. I mean, if you guys first time watching, we are big into vintage hats. They are hot, dope sellers. If you haven't seen, I've done a bunch of hat lives with my homie Cernox Connection, who is the hat god, the hat king. So I owe him so much. He's taught me a lot, and I really appreciate it. Shout out to Cernox. So this was a vintage 90s USA, United States of America patch on a black hat, trucker hat snapback, and it sold for $35. Next up, another shirt from the Dale Earnhardt NASCAR t-shirt vintage haul. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link up top. It's crazy. I'm $8 into all these shirts. This first one right here was a vintage 90s Dale Earnhardt 50th NASCAR anniversary. Big print, wrap around the side to the back. I think this one was double-sided actually, and it sold for $45. Next up from that same haul was this really dope, big graphic, red, just pop out at you, vintage Winston Cup NASCAR shirt from Whit Bazemore. This one sold for $65. So this one was really dope too. This was one I might have kept for myself. Pretty sick shirt. Next up on Grailed, this is a vintage snapback hat I got from the first ever snapback vintage trucker hat haul. This is a vintage 80s Penn State sun-kissed Fiesta Bowl. I can't remember exactly what year that was. I think it was 87. And this sold for $35, shipping included. So that is everything that's sold on Grailed. Kind of a slow week on Grailed, but I hadn't listed anything lately clothes-wise last week. So that's kind of expected. I'm going to get into more of a rhythm here now and start listing at least 4 to 6 hats every day. So that's my new goal. So I am now going to jump into the next platform, which will be Poshmark. All right. Poshmark. So, Poshmark, I've been slacking, not gonna lie. I need to start sharing more, doing more, being more proactive. I'm gonna do a whole week of just listing nothing but shirts, clothes, jackets, hats, all that stuff. So hopefully that'll increase some sales. But even that being said, we still made some sales on Poshmark. The first thing that sold is a vintage Washington Redskins sweatshirt made in the USA. It was on a trench tag, size large, and it sold for $25. If you see Redskins stuff, I will buy it all now because the name has officially been retired. So people who are collectors are going to start trying to pile this stuff up. It might not necessarily be like a quick sale, but it is something that I think is worth investing in. Obviously, I am a Redskins fan, but and I'm. Change needed to be changed. The name needed to be changed. So we are changing the name, and I think it's a good thing. We still have our Super Bowls, still have our history, but it just needed to be done. So I will keep a lot of my own personal Redskins stuff, but I am buying on Redskins right now. And this was a sweet sweatshirt too. Next up is another shirt from the NASCAR haul. This was a vintage 90s Dale Earnhardt Yes It Will Fly t-shirt. And that sold for $28. And then we sold a hat on Poshmark. This sold pretty much same day. This was a Pistol Pete like canvas snapback hat from the 90s. It just said Pistol Pete across the front. And that sold for $20. All right, so that's everything that's sold on Poshmark. Now we are going to jump into some crazy eBay sales. So let's go, eBay. All right, eBay sales. So eBay went a little ham during this time span. We made a couple of huge sales, which definitely helped. But we did sell a lot of volume, and I'm super happy about that because last What Sold video and this What Sold video, eBay has definitely picked back up, and it's a relief because, I work hard. I'm a perfectionist, and I'm human. So if things aren't going like crazy good, then they're going crazy bad. There's no in between for me. So I'm working on not letting that affect me. So it is a process. But all that being said, let's jump into these crazy eBay sales. Right off the break, we're going to jump into a big one. If you guys have not seen, there's a video that's like a recap video of some yard selling or flea marketing that I did with Josie. And at the end of the day, I saw an ad for some free stuff on the curb left over from a yard sale. I saw uranium glass creamer and sugar, so I ran over to get it. When I got there, there was a whole box of stuff. I was on Instagram Live when I went to go pick it up. And then I just saw the whole box, and I just kind of I sorted through it a little bit, but then in the end, I was just just throw it all in the back of in the trunk. So I get there and I find this thing. At first, I didn't even really realize what it was. And then we did a live and we brought it out on a live. And Ma Dukes was like, "Yo, it's a teapot." And then somebody in the chat identified it. It was crazy. Shout out to I think it was Kelly, the ecom mom. Shout out to Kelly. She's the one who told me what it was. And it turned out to be a crazy expensive teapot. I had it listed for $350. I took a best offer, $274.99 for this vintage Feltman Langer asymmetrical postmodern Memphis Club 88 teapot. Wow. I mean, free from the curb. So free 99 to $274.99. You cannot beat it. So super stoked about that. That was a dope find. Now I'm like, I'm keen. I'm like, all right, if I see any of this, I did a little research and looked at some of the other pieces. If you see any crazy looking teapots, definitely buy them. Yeah, so that was crazy. Next up was a GameCube game. I picked this up at a thrift store about a week ago. It sold within 24 hours. It was a Nintendo GameCube Pikmin game with case, no manual. If it had the manual, it would have sold for more, but it sold for $39.99 plus shipping. This was an antique Northwood glass, opalescent blue. If you guys watch our channel, you know we love opalescent glass, especially opalescent blue. The name of the pattern was Alaska. This was a tumbler. It actually had some flea bites on the bottom, or else it probably would have sold for a little bit more. But this sold fairly quickly. And we just picked this up at an auction. And I guess I was like either $1.75 or $2.50 into it, and it sold for 15 bucks. This is some TaylorMade golf club head covers. I picked this up at the flea market with Josie and Cernock. If you haven't seen that video, if I still have enough links to throw up, I'll put it up top. I paid $1 for these, and they sold for $11.99. They had some wear on them. They weren't exactly in the best condition, but they were definitely still nice and usable. This is another GameCube game I picked up that same day at the thrift store. This was Nintendo GameCube Piglet's Big Game. This had the manual. The disc was in immaculate condition, and it sold for $15.99 plus shipping. I'll always pick up GameCube games. They typically always all sell. This is another pickup from that same auction recently. These sold same day. Wedgwood Jasperware. We did a live on it. Go back to our live streams. Check out the Wedgwood Jasperware live stream. Jasperware is still on fire. It's been on fire for like 3 months now. Just if you see the Wedgwood Jasperware, obviously some pieces are not worth the same as others, but it comes in all these different colors. Just buy it. It's on fire. En fuego right now. So these were vintage Wedgwood Jasperware pale blue salt and pepper shakers, and they sold for $39.99 plus shipping. Next up was this vintage Fostoria Baroque Topaz 3-toed bonbon dish. I picked this up at the Dollar Glass Shed. Everything inside the shed was $1, and this sold for $24.99 plus shipping. Next up was this hat. This hat sold same day. Vintage 80s 3 stripes Rustman Bus Company trucker hat snapback. If you see these hats with the 3 stripes on the side, buy them. They are highly sought after. This one was not made in the USA, so it wasn't as valuable, but still a hot commodity. If you can find the 3 stripes made in the USA, big bank and quick sellers. So this hat sold for $30 plus shipping. Next up, this was an interesting pickup. My boy hit me up and he was like, yo, shout out Mike Simone for hooking me up with this. He was like, yo, I got this thing. If you want it, you can have it. You can sell it. If not, I'm going to throw it in trash. And I'm like, oh, of course. I had no idea what it was, but it looks cool. And I was like, it's old. And I like old. I like cool. I like old and cool. So I picked it up from him, and it was free 99, and it sold for $47.99 plus shipping. It was a vintage Lange skinfold caliper manufactured by Cambridge Scientific Industries. I think this is a tool to measure body fat, I believe. And yeah, so that was a great flip, and it sold within 1 day. A lot of this stuff has been selling super quick. So that's like, if you put in these time to list these things, they'll sell pretty quick. So this was a vintage Dugan glass, marigold carnival glass, double stem rose footed ruffled bowl. I picked this up at the Dollar Glass Shed, and we just did a live on carnival glass. So Carnival glass is selling $20 plus shipping. Next up was the second one of those Michelob beer trucker hats. I got 2 in that lot, so I was super stoked about that. And this one sold within a couple of days after the first one sold. This one was $15.99 plus shipping. Next up was the second one of these vintage Fujifilm photo travel kits. I was 80 cents into this. I got a lot of camera stuff and car stereos, so everything in the end ended up costing 80 cents a piece, and this sold for $17.99 plus shipping. Always buy them vintage old cameras. Here we have a really gorgeous piece of Fenton glass. It's like a slag glass, pink milk glass sort of thing going on, or pink custard. You could call it a bunch of different things, but this is a vintage Fenton glass. The name of the color is Rosaline. The name of the pattern is Water Lily. It was a 3-toed bowl. I picked this up for $6, I believe, and it sold for $40 plus shipping. Next up, from the same recent auction, that auction has turned out to be crazy good profit margin. All types of sales so far, and I haven't even listed the big stuff. This is a vintage Fire King Fruits milk glass mug. Lemon on the front. Make sure you guys always pick up milk glass mugs. This sold for $23.99 plus shipping. Oh, excuse me. Next up, another piece of Wedgwood Jasperware. Go figure. Picked this up from the auction. I was $1.50 into it. It was a vintage Wedgwood Jasperware pale blue round bonbon glazed inside planter, and that sold for $32 plus shipping. Gosh, love the Wedgwood Jasper right now. Speaking of that auction, it's another flip from that auction. 80 cents in for these 2 disposable Fujifilm cameras, and they sold for $39.99 plus shipping. And the second big cha-ching, the bring it on home, the big hitter, it is finally gone out the door. For those of you that have been watching my channel for a while, you'll remember this piece from used to sit in the corner on my desk when I did my What Sold videos inside of my desk before it got hot and turned the AC on and it was too loud to do them in there. This is a vintage Wedgwood Jasperware urn vase sacrifice figure, cream on pale blue, 11¼ inches tall. And I got this at the thrift store for $32. And it sold for $375 plus shipping. Boom! Gotta love it. Got to love it. You know, I had a feeling it was going to sell for 2 reasons. One reason, because I've been preaching you guys, I've been talking about how Wedgwood Jasperware it's on fire, it's climbing, it's hot. And then the second reason is because I ended this listing and relisted it for a little bit cheaper. It did have a little bit of a damage on the bottom neck. It had like a little chip. So, you know, it had been around for too long, so I took the offer. $375 plus $25 shipping, and it's gone. Next up, this was a really dope. I just picked this up at the flea market, at like an indoor antique area at the flea market. And it was $4. Excuse me. Antique Counter Sport glass fleur-de-lis in reef custard Vaseline glass shaker. This bad boy glows, gorgeous, and it sold for $39.99 plus shipping, and it sold within 24 hours. Another piece that we picked up at the auction, vintage Royal Dalton, the favorite, was the name of the character of the porcelain figurine. I bought this. I was $17.50 in on this figurine, and it sold for $40 plus shipping. Royal Dalton, it's a great seller. Next up was this refrigerator water filter replacement. It was compatible with Whirlpool and Kenmore, and it sold for $14.99 plus shipping. It was unused, still sealed. The box was open, but it was still plastic sealed on the top. This is an interesting sale right here. This is the antique Northwood glass carnival glass. The name of the pattern was 3 Fruits. It was an amethyst color. This had not a chip, but a large chunk chip missing on the rim when Josie and I were yard selling in Pennsylvania, the person was going to throw it away. So I was like, I'll take it. I'll list it anyways. This is a gorgeous bowl, and it still displays pretty nice. And somebody bought it for $13 plus shipping. Next up, more Redskins stuff is selling. These were like plastic megaphone cones from 1985 and 1986, Budweiser Redskins, and they sold for $19.99 plus shipping. Next up is another cool vintage snapback trucker hat. It is a vintage 90s Win premium oil trucker hat. It was like a nice neon highlighter green color, and that sold for $14.99 plus shipping. So that is everything that's sold on eBay. Now, we got some Etsy sales to talk about. Let's do Etsy. All right, Etsy time. Etsy time. All right, first thing up that's sold on Etsy during this time span. This was a old piece that I had. It was in my clearance section. It was a vintage mid-century modern Hungary glass that was made in Hungary, smoked glass, gold etching. The gold etching was kind of faded on most of the little cordial glasses. It was a decanter that came with 5 glasses, and the buyer was all in on that for $44.68. Next up was a double order, so 2 pieces, 1 order. Royal Dalton, both pieces. One was a creamer in Prisma Mallard Green. The other was a butter crock with lid, and the pattern was wild cherry pattern. As I was saying, you know, these are definitely older pieces. You can tell by the pictures. They're like some pictures I took when I first started doing Etsy. Well, not first started, but you know, it's been about over a year probably since I've had these. But Royal Dalton is always a good seller, and those pieces sold. The buyer was all in for $50 even. That rarely happens on Etsy, but $50 even. Next up was another double order. So the first thing that this buyer bought was this really gorgeous like bird figurine. It was made by Gerald Porzellen. It was Bavarian, West Germany, China. And she also got a pair of Black Depression glass candlesticks, which I paid $1 for at the Dollar Glass Shed. And the buyer was all in on those 2 pieces for $64.16. Next up was this really gorgeous console bowl with the rolled edge. It had etched glass is what you call it. It's like flowers etched into the glass, and it was uranium glass, gorgeous piece. And the buyer was all in on that for $72.46. The next thing that sold on Etsy was this, it's kind of, I guess you could say this is mid-century modern. Shawnee Pottery was the maker. It was a really gorgeous cobalt blue cornucopia vase. I picked this up at a yard sale probably last year, and it sold, the buyer was all in for $54.79. Man, I need to really make this Liberty Blue video. I've been slacking because it's selling right now, and I need to get that information out to you guys. This one was another dinner plate, the vintage Liberty Blue Staffordshire historic colonial scenes dinner plate, Independence Hall, and the buyer was all in on that dinner plate for $18.63. Next up was another plate. This is made by I can't remember who makes this. Pierre Viel, I think, or Perry Viel. It is a dinner plate, and it has like a opera, something to do with operas, and it has like a sheet of music on it. And this one was called The Barber of Seville, and it sold. The buyer was all in for $34.52. Next up, we sold another hat. We are selling hats on every single platform. You guys just got to get on multiple platforms. These hats are going crazy. This was a vintage 80s Bahamas trucker hat snapback. Dope colorway, red and green and white. And the buyer was all in for $42.92. Next up is another Liberty Blue. This was a Liberty Blue rimmed soup bowl, and the buyer was all in on this piece for $29.34. So you can see the soup bowls are one of the pieces in that pattern that sell for more money. The dinner plates $10, the soup bowl $20. So yeah, I gotta get that video done for you guys. Next up was another old piece. This is a vintage porcelain cups and saucer. They had like this really dope marble granite sort of looking white Carrera vibe to it. It was actually, they're like little espresso cups, and it was 4 cups and 3 saucers, and the buyer was all in on that for $32.75. So this next order, I was gonna try and show you guys all the individual pieces, but it's just too much. So this person bought 10 items. The first thing they bought was a vintage 1984 Matchbox car, still in the package, die cast. They bought 2 of those. They also bought this really cool Arnett Creation footed trinket dish with the cover. Then they bought a tin spick and span advertising serving tray. The next thing up was a vintage, it was like a music box, but it looked like a liquor jug, kind of stoneware-ish. And it had like people on the decanter like drinking and dancing. Then they bought 2 precious moments, which I'll never ever buy again. They also bought a vintage McCoy cookie jar windmill. That was probably the most expensive thing of the batch. And then they bought a lot of 3 1984 die-cast toy cars still in the box. They also bought a green apple-shaped candy dish, and that brought their grand total to $214.67 all in. Whew! That was you think I'm tired now after talking about it. You should have seen how tired I was packing that thing. It took 3 boxes to pack that order. Next up, this is 2 weeks in a row I've sold another one of these antique cast iron tub claw foot. I guess it's a foot because it's a single one. And it was $24.99. So the buyer was all in for $50.65 on that claw foot. Pretty dope piece. Next up was some more uranium glass. This person bought a Cambridge glass cup and saucer. This one actually had the Cambridge marking on the bottom, and the buyer was all in on that for $31.26. And then that buyer came back later and bought some more uranium glass. They bought the same cup and saucer, but also this lot included a luncheon plate. And then they bought these really cool uranium glass lighting fixture pieces. They kind of look like tumblers, but they were for a lighting fixture. And the buyer was all in for all those pieces for $119.74. And we sold more Wedgwood Jasperware. Go figure. It's crazy. This was a really gorgeous lilac color. Vintage Wedgwood cream on lilac. Jasperware fluted round 3-slot ashtray. I'm not going to try and say the Greek figure's name that was on it. I'll try. Coriolanus, maybe. Well, the buyer was all in on that piece for $37.63. Next up, some more Vaseline glass. This is a really dope piece. I've actually sold a bunch of this pattern. This is Antique Richards and Hartley Glass Company. The name of the pattern is 2-panel Vaseline glass. This was a set of 3 cordial glasses. Really gorgeous. And the buyer was all in on that for $91.16. Next up, man, it's crazy. More Wedgwood Jasperware. This is a vintage Wedgwood Jasperware pale blue Houses of the World bell. It was made specifically for Danbury Mint, and it sold for $32.16. And here we have more mid-century modern, cobalt blue, barware, the whole kit and caboodle. Line them up, 1, 2, 3, crossover appeal. This was a vintage Hazel Atlas ships blue with white 82-ounce pitcher, and the buyer was all in for $59.92. Dope piece. I have some glasses still. I'm trying to sell that. And I mean, the themes are just rolling. More vintage Liberty Blue, Staffordshire, England, historic colonial scenes. This was 3 coffee mugs, and the buyer was all in for those 3 coffee mugs for $39.99. Next up, vintage Kanawha glass. Quilted diamond was the name of the pattern. It had the wing handle. It was hobnail. It was a dope piece. Amberina glass, and it was manganese glass. So when you put the black light on it, it shines orange. So that's pretty cool too. The buyer was all in on that piece for $46.06. Next up, we got a couple more pieces of, go figure, Liberty Blue. So this person bought a Liberty Blue dinner plate. They also bought a Liberty Blue butter plate. And then they bought another piece of blue and white china, which was Kingswood Blue by English Ironstone. It was a salad plate, and the buyer was all in for those 3 plates for $48.59. Next up was some clear glass, which you guys know I don't sell a lot of, but I bought this a while ago because it was still in the box. It is Anchor Hawking Early American press cut 6-piece coaster set with box, and the buyer was all in. This was in my clearance section. The buyer was all in for $28.07. Here we have a vintage Hull pottery green drip glaze oval footed planner. I got this for free. A lady was just giving away a bunch of stuff that was at the flea market in her barn, and that sold for $17.08. Here we have some more Pyrex. This was a vintage Pyrex Woodland Cinderella round casserole 471. The buyer was all in on this piece of Pyrex for $18.63. And I mean, we just got more Wedgwood. This was a vintage Wedgwood pale blue on cream Jasperware fluted round trinket box, and the buyer is all in for $27.49. Next up, Royal Albert is another one of those teacup names you want to be on the lookout for, especially their older stuff. This was a vintage Royal Albert 1970 March. I can never say the name of this flower. Anemones, teacup and saucer. The buyer is all in for $34.05. And the last thing to sell on Etsy was another piece from the Dollar Glass Shed. This ashtray was like a clear crystal colored glass that had a green colored glass fired onto it. And so it was kind of like basically like case glass. And the buyer was all in on that piece for $19.80. Whew, man, I don't know how I did that, but I just flew through those 80 items. Hopefully not too fast. You guys were still able to retain some information. Don't forget, if you guys ever have any questions, I've been kind of busy this last week. I had to help Ma Dukes out with some things around her house, take her to a couple of doctor's appointments. So I trying to catch up on those messages. If you guys ever have any messages, don't forget, you can leave those in the comment section of this video or shoot us a message on Instagram at Over the Years Collecting, at Over the Years eBay. Thank you guys as always for your love and support. Everybody, please stay safe, stay healthy. Sorry about that, guys. I got cut off. And I did not want to end the video without telling everybody to be safe, stay healthy, enjoy yourself, take some time to enjoy life, and keep working hard, keep pushing. If you guys haven't noticed, selling on these multiple platforms, it's a lot of work. But in the end, it pays off. We had, I think, sold 80-something items during that stretch. So, great time for us. Hopefully, you guys had a good time. Don't forget, there's all these cool videos around my face you can watch and learn more. So, until next time.